Once upon a time, in a land far in the north, a dwarf there lived, Durin of Et, third son of Durin, Durin sonar, Durin sönar, Durin sönjer, Durin son. Sindri, he was called brother to Brock. It has been told how his brother and he crafted the mighty Thunderer's weapon, but this story shall not be told again here. But it was thence that a bitter cold had come unto the lands of man, and bitter need and starvation was upon them. And as is wont in times like this, a new cult had risen in the lands of man, a cult that had been forbidden for times before times. Some say it is the cult of the grey god, but a god it isn't, for the grey had been before the law of the universe and came from outside. The tale, the lore of the four dragons, the sacred story of the Aiwigan Ferach shall not be quoted here, but there was always hope, and they bound the grey, and yet its tendrils grew into the darkness, corrupting love to lust, honor to greed, righteous wrath to hate, and dreams to lies. But as is wont in times of need, people are looking for prophets, and prophets this cult had to offer. And so they fell unto the shadow of the grey god's law. His priests reigned supreme, but still need reigned upon the poor. The wealthy got wealthier still, and they ate the children of the poor. And power was in their hands, power over life and over death. And they believed that even the Duodan and Duodai were powerless against their might. In this time it was that knowledge came to the high priests of the grey god that there was no need in the halls of Sindri's kin. And so they sought and designed designs to overthrow the throne of Sindri. So they sent an emissary, and he was welcomed, as was custom amongst the dwarfs, even to welcome their bitter enemies, for not afraid they were of the feeble might of man. And they sat down in the great hall and feasted on methyl browry and the dark and honey-flavoured ale the dwarfs knew to brew. An abundance there was of meat and root and salads, of mushrooms and stews and soups and desserts. And they ate, and after the meal, the emissary sought counsel with Sindri, Durin's son. And Sindri sat and listened to the false lore of the emissary of the grey god, of a high priest of rank, who promised him wealth and precious stones and lore in metalworking and never-ending wealth. And Sindri sat and said little. Sometimes he would nod, but those who knew him were afraid. And on went the high priest of the grey and told him how everything he had and everything he believed was nothing against the law of the grey god. Immortality he promised to the dwarfs, not knowing how long they lived and how tired they got with the eons, how tired of the weight of the world. For hard they are, the dwarfs, harder than the stone. But also with a fire glowing deep within. And Sindri turned to him, and for one of the few occasions that night he spoke to the emissary of the grey god himself, and asked if he submitted to the cult of the grey god, whether he could honor his ancestors still. And the high priest laughed. He laughed and laughed, and still he laughed. And after he had laughed enough, he cried, "Well, there's no such thing as ancestors. There are no spirits, no ghosts of yore. You're worshipping fairy tales and dreams." Thus he spoke, and was never seen again. What was seen again, however, were the children of Sindri. A pact they made, a pact very grave, a pact very stark and strong. Emissaries they sent to the kin of the Duodanan Duodai. And thus it came that the cindery Smaulor became the terror of the grey god's disciples and minions. License they got from the Duodai to forge the Sisya from dwarven steel with dwarven runes. Born in the fires beneath the mountain, born from plight and dwarven might, shimmering like a river, grey and adamant. And as it comes, that the Sissa had become the terror, the grey god's kin, that the steel itself, as mere ingot, smites their hearts with terror. And so it comes that the faithful amongst men and dwarf alike do carry the blade, often under their garments, to protect the weak from the grey god's law.